Good morning and welcome to Smell the Coffee with Glenora Shipura and Ashwin Berry. Today is Africa Day and we'd like to wish all our viewers an absolutely fantastic Africa Day. In the words of Nkame Nkrumah, I was not born in Africa, Africa was born in me. How's it going, Glenora?
It's going very well.
Yes.
It's going very well. Thank you for bringing us in and for
Yes.
celebrating Africa. And he's the most passionate person about Africa that I've met.
Yeah.
And I
very
love
serious.
that. We need to all have that energy. And we do, of course
Yes,
we do.
yeah.
So it's also important to have these discussions. What are you proud? Why are you happy to be an African?
Exactly. I mean, look, I love our sense of community, our understanding of how important it is to greet and meet spaces and people with love. I like how we laugh. You know that thing when we laugh and we go the other direction when we're really excited. I love
the clapping of the...
Yes, I love how we dance across cultures. But again, above and beyond it all, I love how we receive each other, even though that has been taken advantage of by other communities.
Yeah.
For Africans, that sense of Ubuntu, that overarching love, that's the essence of what makes us us.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful because when I traveled and I was in Europe, anytime I see whether it's a Ghanaian, Nigerian, we don't know each other, but there was this knowing nod that we'll make to each other. Like, we are in this together. Like, if anything happens to you, I got you. You're my sister, you're my brother.
Yes.
So I love that sense of community that transcends not only in Africa, but beyond.
Yes.
And that's, you see such, everywhere you go where there's African community, there's that whole we're together.
Yes. So are there some African icons that, come to mind when you think of Africa Day?
I think because I'm a writer and the first book, it's not the first book I read, but the first book I read that literally, I was like, wow, this is writing. Chinua Achebe, I know we did it in school, but after that I went out and searched for his books and wow.
Yes.
A literature
truly iconic.
genius. Yes,
truly iconic. Yes.
Who are your icons?
I mean, I've got several. I mean, if you're talking writing, it's Tsitsi Dangarembga, who wrote Nervous Conditions, Thomas Sankara, Chris Hani, Kenneth Kaunda, Zambia, because, if he didn't free Zambia, I wouldn't have a partner. So, thank you, sir. Some heroes which deserve, even louder applause, people like Joshua Nkamuko Nkombo, who's known as the father of Zimbabwe, Josiah Tongogara, Chris Hani in South Africa, obviously Dr. Sam Nujoma in Namibia, the late, great Dr. Toivoya Toivo.
Nelson
Many
Mandela.
Nelson
There's
Mandela,
so
Brenda
Jomo Kenyatta.
Fassie. Yes.
I mean, there's so much to celebrate in Africa.
Absolutely, so much to celebrate. And as we get into our news stories, we'll be celebrating a little bit more what it means to be African. And of course, we'll bring you other news stories from around the world. Stay with Smell the Coffee. All right, so as we said, it's Africa Day. To commemorate Africa Day, we're going to go through some of the Guinness World Records which are currently held by Africans. And you'll be surprised. You will really be surprised. Okay, so we start with Wade van Niekerk. No surprises there. The fastest 400 meters run by a male athlete, which is 43.03 seconds. And of course, Fela Kuti. Now, Fela Kuti recorded 46 albums as a solo artist over the course of a solo career spanning 23 years. The first solo album was recorded in 1969 and the last in 1992. And this is very interesting. Some might consider this one of Fela Kuti's musical children. Wizkid, also known as Ayo Balogun, popularly known as Wizkid, has a Guinness World Record for being the artist with the first track to reach 1 billion streams on Spotify. Wizkid achieved this with One Dance by Drake. Then there's also Chinonso Eche, who beat his own record by 2022. This was for the most consecutive football touches in 1 minute. Stephen Keshi, the youngest person to win the Africa Cup of Nations as a player. And Keshi was the captain of the Nigeria national team. There's also Tuden Morgan, the fastest time to run half a marathon on the continent, as we wait for the camera to come back to us. And then there's Paul Kahinde, the heaviest para power lift by a male in the 65 kg category. And then Rema. Would you believe Rema, young artist?
He just started.
He just started. He just got going now. At
He's
the moment,
22, I think.
Yes. Now, at the moment of writing Calm Down, it stands at almost 388 million streams on Spotify, while its viral remix with US artist Selena Gomez achieved a whopping 717 million.
Well, to be fair, the Rema one, I think maybe 100,000 streams,
Yeah.
I mean, of views come from me.
Yeah, but it's good to see. And of course, this is not a comprehensively list.
It's not.
I mean, just now we
Yeah.
had Miss Bassi with the cooking record, and Africans have been breaking records for eons of times.
I mean, it's something to celebrate, right?
Yes, yes.
I'm shocked at how long the list is.
Yes, yeah.
And we don't talk about this enough.
We should.
We should talk about
Yes,
this.
indeed.
Wizkid is on there. I
Yes.
mean, some of my favorite artists are on there, and also just other people that I've not heard of that have
Yes.
done remarkable things.
It's very nice to see. All
Yeah.
right, what's our next
So
story?
when is your next
Guinness
breaking-
World
yes,
Record?
or something.
I don't know
Person who
how
can
I'll
talk the
achieve
longest.
it.
No?
Yeah, I could try it, but I don't know if it's a world record. I commentated horse jumping in Namibia. I think I'm the first Zimbabwean to do that.
Give the man his flowers. Well, we're going to swing over to my story before we get into the news stories. So we're just going to look at 10, or not necessarily 10, but interesting facts about the hetero people. I'm hetero speaking. I'm a hetero person. Yeah, I don't know. What do you know about us?
I know that you've got lovely attire, that it's a very community-based culture, originally known as the Himba, stemming from the Himba people, if we're talking from ancient Africa.
I think if we could just show the herero dress.
The herero dress, it would be.
Yes.
Yeah, you know.
So, because we did originate, and you know the story behind how we got the herero dress?
No, do tell me.
Yeah, so we were, in the Himba attire first, and then colonialization happened, and hetero women were used as maids in the German women's kitchens. But then the men started finding them attractive. And there was a lot of rape and some other stuff happening. So the German females felt a little bit threatened by that. So they started to cover them up with the gown. So it has a lot of influence from the German side of things, but we still made it very, very true to us. So that's why the head is there, a horn shape, and cattle is very, very important to us. So if you're a hetero person and you don't have a lot of cattle,
now's the time to start investing.
Now is the time to yes, exactly. So if you want to get married to me, you have to bring a lot of cattle.
All right, hey, keep that in mind.
Gentlemen. We marry our cousins, another thing.
Oh, that's interesting. That
yes,
is another interesting. Okay.
Yes, and it's very interesting as well how some of these things can happen. Like, for instance, and I know this happened to someone I know. Let's say I'm dating you, you're my boyfriend, and then a great uncle dies in my family. So when a great uncle dies, kids need to be given away to their cousins. So it's part of the tradition. So she goes to bury him, and when she gets there, she's told, "Oh yeah, you're getting married to your cousin." Hoo-hoo.
Yeah.
And
I think it would need people who are integrally a part of the community to.
But
be
I
able
like that
to
we still
adjust.
uphold some of these things.
Yes.
As much as we try to frown upon the whole
There's a reason behind
arranged
it.
marriages, there's a reason behind it, and there's that whole sense of community. We keep an eye, because the women, when they get married, I go stay in your family, with your family. How do we ensure that these women are safe, that we are keeping with tradition, we're keeping with who we are as a people?
All right.
So it's really enshrined in like a very deep philosophy that we kind of gloss over because it's Shiramwes.
Yes. And of course, a lot of it is frowned upon because of European standards, which don't necessarily mean that what was pre-existing is wrong. You know what I mean? So now we're going to move into some potent news, and it's looking very interesting down there in South Africa. The leader of the EFF, Julius Malema, South Africa's third largest political party, said he would supply weapons to Russia because Moscow is in a war with imperialism. In an interview with the BBC in Johannesburg, Julius Malema insisted that South Africa is an ally of Russia and that the ANC government's position of non-alignment only applied to the war in Ukraine. Now, I will go beyond the friendship with Russia. In the war, I will align with Russia and I will even supply the weapons, Mr. Malema told Hard Talk's Stephen Sacker. Now, the EFF also wants South Africa to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. The ICC has issued an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin for alleged war crimes, but Mr. Malema has pledged to prevent any attempt to arrest the Russian president if he attends next month's BRICS summit in Cape Town. Wow. So
I think very bold.
Very bold, but it's aligned. If a lot of people have consumed the EFF from a distance. You hear them say something, and then it rubs you the wrong way. But I've read the EFF's constitution. They are a communist party. If they're going to align with Russia, it makes perfect sense for them. With regards to their value systems, aligning with Russia, aligning with China is completely normal. If you've read what they said, of course, what's interesting is. What he says about South Africa and Russia, that's not an EFF position. That's a South Africa position.
Yes.
South Africa is an ally of Russia's. They are not an ally in the war, but they are a Russian ally.
And that's maybe a conversation we're not having enough of.
Well, I mean, the Americans sure would love to have that conversation,
Yes.
but everything can't work on how the world can best serve America's quest for global superiority. I think Africans are independent enough to make their own decisions. Whether those decisions are good or bad, it's not dependent on the interests of America. It never is. I'm sure this is a shock to Americans.
And also another point we have to highlight is these decisions are in the interest of what serves me best.
Well, that's exactly.
Yes,
and look,
so
Julius Malema has never lied.
Yes, he's never lied.
He will tell you. He was even pressed about the fact that he once had tax issues 15 years ago and whatnot. And he said it's very interesting. He said this directly to the presenter. He says, this is lazy thinking. Because we're talking about things that happened, things that took accountability for. You talk about me in my 20s. Right now, I am a 42-year-old man who started a political party, who is married. You can't say anything about right now. And so I found that very interesting. I do like when Africans stand their ground. I don't necessarily think that Julius Malema or other Africans are always right, but I think even less of European influences when conversing with Africa, simply because of simple things like illicit financial flows of billions that go out of Africa.
Exactly.
And how it, for the most part, has benefited the West.
Neocolonialism, actually.
Yeah. So again, whenever there's mutual beneficial relationships, which South Africa and Namibia does have with the US, the First Lady of America was here, I think that's always beautiful, especially when people find the middle ground. But I also think that when people like Julius Malema give their voice, we can't force them to sound like us just because we want to sound off to America.
Yeah. Very true, very true. Well, moving on to our next story, in some really sad news, Tina Turner, music legend, dies at 83. Now, singer Tina Turner, whose soul classics and pop hits like The Best and What's Love Got to Do With It made her a superstar, has died at the age of 83. Now, Turner had suffered a number of health issues in recent years, including cancer, a stroke, and kidney failure. She rose to fame alongside husband Ike in the 1960s with songs including Proud Mary and River Deep and Mountain High. Now, she divorced the abusive Ike in 1978 and went on to find even greater success as a solo artist in the 1980s. Today, we say goodbye to a dear friend who leaves us all her greatest work, her music. It was written on her official Instagram page that announced her death. Now, Turner won 8 Grammy Awards and was introduced into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2021 as a solo artist, having first been inducted alongside Ike in 1991. Now, upon her solo induction, the Hall of Fame noted how she had expanded the once limited idea of how a black woman could conquer a stage and be both a powerhouse and a multi-dimensional being.
Yes.
she was so inspirational for me as a kid, because I watched the Tina Turner movie where she got out of the abusive marriage to Ike, and I found that very inspiring, because she really did break barriers, you know. And as a kid watching that, somebody fighting for their freedom, fighting for their voice, and doing that was really something that moved me. And yeah,
truly an icon, truly an icon. And I think the only way and the only apt thing that you can ever truly say about Tina Turner is simply the best.
Simply the best.
All right, that brings us to the end of our news stories on Smell the Coffee. Now, the newly elected chairperson of the Hospitality Association of Namibia, Mr. Ali Kareroa, talks about the importance of skills development and training in the tourism sector, whilst Han CEO Gita Peitsold also talks about the difficulties the sector is facing after this short break.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Aiming to, and I think we made at least a successful attempt, and the outcome of this will show whether we managed to reach our goal. Bring all the trainers that provide training for the travel and tourism industry here in Namibia, and some of our industry players, not only from accommodation, but travel agents, tour operators, car rentals, all under one roof, in one room, to talk with one another, not to one another. We want to talk amongst ourselves to really address what has become one of the biggest challenges facing tourism since COVID-19. It seems that we in tourism deal with the big C's all the time. So it was COVID 2-3 years ago. Now it's careers and curriculum development. We don't seem to make our mark in terms of where we want to take this industry in terms of skills efficiency.
This is one of the most exciting meetings you can ever think of, like full house, industry represented, trainers represented. This meeting was long overdue. I've been part of the skills development committee of NTB, and I remember Sam Shikongo has been one of the advocates of this meeting to happen, and now it is happening. We know exactly what is happening in this industry, and I think that speaks to the attendance. We've lost skills. We've lost chefs, we've lost pilots, we've lost anybody you can think of in this industry. When the industry recovered, we were looking around, everybody just cannot be found. I'm coming from Indaba in South Africa, talking to fellow hospitality industry people, struggling with the same. You know, people just asking the question, where did the people go to? Because they cannot just be found. I heard some of the pilots have become mechanics, and they tend to love their newfound passion. Chefs, we've lost quite a lot of them to hospitals and other institutions. So we are suffering. As you know, the hospitality industry, unfortunately, is one of the most labor-intensive industries. We don't have a choice. We need people. For a very long time in Namibia, the issue of training has always been a very sore issue. Few people have been training. Many of us have not been training, from what I get. A few months ago, I got a call from NTA saying that we are standing with 980 million of money which should be used for training. And can you do something? I was quite surprised because there is money, we are just not training. What is the problem? I think that's the reason why we are now here today, to find out from each other what is the problem. I'm sure I will be preaching to the converted if I have to speak about the importance of training and the effect of training onto our business. I'm sure if we have well-trained staff, we deliver better profit, we have less losses, and we grow. And it seems that that has not been maybe the conviction of many of us as business leaders, and that's why we are now experiencing what we are experiencing. And of course, some people have always been saying, yeah, what if I train and the people leave? I think that's mostly our problem, because we have to train to retain. And what if we don't train and those whom we don't train don't leave? Then we have a problem. So I think we should start working on sustainability. The 3 Ps: the profits, the planet, and the people. I think it should be the other way around. It should start with the people, because the people affect the profit and the planet being the issue of sustainability. We need to bring about the balance.
I'm a stone's throw south of the Heroes Acre here, south of Windhoek. I'm waiting for Russell Cook, the hardest geezer. He's running from Cape Agulhas in the Southern Cape, the most southern tip of Africa, to Tunis, the most northern tip of Africa. He started his journey more or less 1,700 kilometers away, and he's currently about 12 kilos south of Windhoek. So Russell will end his journey today in Windhoek at the Euros Airport, where we will have a nice interview with him. And here's he coming, Russell, hardest geezer, all the way from Cape Agulhas, more than 1,700 kilometers, I believe, a few kilometers in front of Windhoek. Good afternoon, Russ.
Good.
Go all the way. See you at the airport.
Yes.
Thanks, bro. Russell,
Yes.
My guess is that you have completed more or less 40 marathons in 33 days.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And the kilometers, 1,007 approximately?
Something like that, yeah.
And you're not too far from your destiny today.
No.
At the hotel. Are you gonna run? Are you gonna lead a run this afternoon? I understand that from
Yes.
from someone.
Yeah, so we're going to run to the airport now, and then I've got about 13 kilometers to run after that in the evening.
So you're gonna do that
So we're
13
gonna do-
tonight.
Yeah.
And tomorrow morning you start from where?
From the point where we finished tonight, we
Oh,
start
so
there in the morning.
that will be on from the roadside or what?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, so you're not gonna stay in town.
So
and-
we're gonna finish the run today, then go back to Windhoek, stay in Windhoek for the night, and then go
and
back
take
out there,
take
yeah.
up from there again.
Yeah.
This is not the first time. People, this is not the first time that the hardest geezer has done this. He once ran from Asia to London.
Yes.
When was that?
So that was in 2019. That was a little bit different to this time because I didn't have any support crew then.
Yes.
So I just had this bag and a hammock and a sleeping bag, and I'd run a marathon and then find a couple of trees like those ones over there and just sleep for the night and then go again. In the
Crashed for the night under the tree and
Yeah.
hoping that you
Didn't get eaten by a wolf or something or a bear. Yeah.
Yeah. How many days did it take you? Like 66 or what?
66 days that was, yeah.
And how many kilometers was that?
That was about 3,000, I believe.
So Russell, you're going to prove a lot of people wrong.
Yes,
This
that's
crazy
the plan.
Englishman.
Yeah, the British, we're always a little bit crazy.
Yeah. Russell, thank you very much for your time.
No worries, guys.
Good luck
Pleasure.
with the rest of the road. There's another 15 countries
Yes.
left and the half of Namibia to the northern border with Angola.
I'm excited.
Any message for the Namibian people, because this is going on to TV today?
Yes, I just want to say a massive thank you to all the Namibians who've been so kind to us throughout our time here. You know, it's a credit to all of you. And you know, keep pushing on, guys. Keep putting that work in. You know, we're gonna make it happen.
Russell.
So that last clip was Russell, the hardest geezer Cook, who is a British runner running from Cape Town, 15,000 kilometers across Africa, and he'll be departing from the capital, Windhoek, heading to Angola tomorrow, and we certainly wish him all the best, just as we wish you all the best on Africa Day.
Yes.
Yes?
What a good show.
What a good show. Love his show. Feeling very positive.
I feel very enshrined
Yes.
in my Africanness.
Yes, and don't forget to spread love to your fellow Africans. Today is a day that we remember that when we are united, we truly are powerful. Cheers.